Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Rusty Beauties Restorations. We are on the 66 GT6 today and we're gonna continue with our bonnet repairs that we still have to finish before we actually take the body off the frame. So in the last episode I was threatening that I was gonna put everything together, but then it turned out that we had a dent here that we need, like not dent, it was literally messed up a lot, so we fixed that. And now what's left here before we put it together is I need to repair this here, this end of this bracket, which I actually have to look at the other side. I think the other side looks better. Yeah, so this is what it should look like. I don't know how to focus it here. So this is the shape, so we have to repair this one as well. Also, I'd like to come here and fix this edge. Well, this one is in a better shape because it was braced here, so not much work on this one. But this one, on this side, I drilled a lot of spot welds and somewhere I went even through, so I want to fix those because the metal is pretty thin there. So we're gonna weld all these. We're gonna leave only the holes that we need for the clicos so we can put our fender in the exact same spot. And then we're gonna paint the inner wheel wells and this part here wherever we can with epoxy primer. We're gonna also paint down there with epoxy primer. Same for this side. So this is gonna be easier to be done now because we have access to it. I also have the two fenders here. So we're gonna clean this up because there's greasy fingers here and stuff. We're gonna remove those stickers. We're gonna sand it very quickly to give some tooth, and then we're gonna paint them with epoxy primer as well. And then we're gonna be ready to start assembling the bonnet finally, because I want it to be assembled on the car so I can watch the gaps and everything. And once we do that, we're gonna be ready to take the body off finally. So without further ado, let's get crack-a-lacking. Okay, so I just cut a strip of metal and with my pliers I bent this corner, so now I can overlap it nicely with this, and I think it's matching pretty well. So now we can cut this piece somewhere here and we're gonna weld this, and then we're gonna measure 16.5 because I measured from the other side. It's 16.5 from here all the way to the end. So we're gonna weld this, we're gonna measure 16.5 and then we're gonna round it nicely. I have to modify my bend a little bit because there's a step here, it's not just a simple bend. Okay, a bit more. Okay, and now we can return this. That looks a little bit better. Okay, I'm gonna have to grind this flush because this is where the fender comes, but here in this hole where I build up so much weld, I'm just gonna leave it. It's not gonna be seen and it's not gonna be in the way, so I'm just gonna grind here. On this side as well I need to weld, and this side is gonna be seen, so this needs to be done nicely. Okay, this is gonna be awkward to grind because it's gonna vibrate, so I have to hold it. Okay, so that's not too bad. I even ground a little bit here. I couldn't resist the urge. Even though this is not going to be seen, I grounded just a little bit because it was too bulky. And this is what this side looks like. It's, on the light background, the camera is messing up, but it's not too bad. So that's where we're going to leave it. Now, since we are on this side, let me finish the welding here. I forgot about this. So here we need to weld these cuts that I made before and spot weld these together. I will see if I can shove the spot welder there or not. Okay, it's not too bad. So now what we're gonna do is, before we go to the other side, I'm gonna clean this up and we're gonna spray it with epoxy primer. I'm also gonna clean up the fender that belongs to this side, and I'm gonna paint this as well. So while we're working on the other side, this side is gonna be dried and we're gonna be able to start putting it together. All right, I sanded it very lightly with sandpaper. I think that's 220, whatever. Just wanted to give it a little bit of tooth. Cut my fingers multiple times. I cut myself here, I cut myself here on these sharp edges. But I discovered some issues here. Do you see what I'm talking about? I'm talking about this, and about this, and about this. So there's some wrinkles here from when they stamped this fender, and these are also, like, I can feel them on the outside, and that's gonna it's gonna give me troubles. So here, right here, and right here, and right here. So I'm gonna have to straighten these because I don't want to have troubles after that. It's gonna be really hard to do that after. So we'll see. I'm gonna put a dolly underneath here, and I'm gonna try with the slapper on the outside. I was thinking maybe I could run it on the English wheel. Now, you know, with not much pressure, so it doesn't stretch it, just flattens it. But I need to be able to match this curve, and if I don't match it perfectly, it's either not gonna straighten it here in the corner especially, or if my crown is too low, then it's gonna put a line right here, and it's gonna make it even worse. So I'd rather do that by hand. Every time I say I'm ready to start assembling, I find out that I'm not. So you see where they are? Here, here, and here. Okay, so let's try with this area first. I'm gonna put this dolly behind, which has a little bit higher crown than this, so it should work well. It feels better, but we still have more to. Okay, there's still a little bit more, but I think it's actually pretty good. It feels good. So of course, because there's scratches also from the die when they were stamping it, we're gonna definitely have to fill these holes. I'm not sure if the high build primer, because I believe we're gonna spray it with high build primer after the epoxy primer later. So I'm not sure if the high build primer is gonna fill these scratches or not, but now it feels smooth. Well, there's a little bit more that I can do. That's actually pretty good now. I can still feel the scratches from the dye, but it is much better than like, but I'm glad we caught these now, because later it was going to be really hard to fix them. And especially here, these are highs, and because of this high we were going to have to fill like a big area here with body filler. It's better if we bring this high down now, so we don't need to use a lot of body filler here. And we're gonna try to shrink this because it's definitely sticking up. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this now. Feels smooth. So okay, that took like 20 minutes, but I'm sure it saved us a lot of body filler here. Okay, so now I'm just gonna wash it with some solvent here, and then we're gonna spray it. Okay, so the primer that I got is this car rep. It's still a 2K 2-component epoxy primer, but it's in a can, which actually saves me time, because if I have to mix my components, I have to mix a little quantity just for here, enough for here, then a little bit for the other side. This way I can always use it without worrying that I have to clean guns after that, and just for small areas and for inside. Unfortunately it's black. I couldn't find gray, but it is what it is. For inside it's fine. For outside we're gonna buy a gallon and we're gonna spray it with a gun. But for here I'm happy with that. It's a little bit expensive, so 4 cans costed me probably the price of an entire gallon, but it is what it is. Okay, let's see. Actually covers really well. I think with two coats we're gonna be perfect. This edge I'm not gonna spray too much, because I'm gonna have to grind it after and spray it with weld through primer, because this is where we're gonna do spot welds, and I'm not sure it's gonna work through the epoxy primer. Okay, that's enough. We're gonna spray another coat in, I don't know if it has, so we can put a second coat in 3 minutes. Okay, I also painted here, and again, this is only for the areas that I can't reach from inside later. So I painted the wheel well on this side, I painted here, even though here I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be able to reach later, but down there it's really hard to reach now, but it's gonna be easy later. So we're gonna leave it for later. Paint it here, and that's where we're gonna leave it. I also painted this triangular piece here. Everything is in 2 coats, so now I can go and repair that hanging piece on the other side. Actually, I decided I'm gonna go also and cover some areas with this easy liner, which is track bed liner. And I don't want to spray everything with it because it gives different texture and we want the fenders inside to be nice and smooth, but I'm just gonna go around the edges. So I'm gonna go here around, I'm gonna go there definitely, and maybe this whole area, because we know that this is where it rusted before. We're gonna go here in areas that we're not gonna see later, you know, but we know that they're weak areas. I want this surface later to sand and to make it nice and smooth, as for example the wheel well inside. You see how it is nice and smooth? I don't want to give it a rough texture. So here as well, I'm not gonna spray here because that's gonna be seen, but here I can spray and protect it. Here inside as well, this piece too. Everything that we had troubles with, that rusted before, we're gonna spray with this truck bed liner. Okay, this is still wet here, but you can see how it has different texture. Here, actually, I sprayed this area here, only up to here, and the texture is not that bad. Well, it is. I don't want the wheel wells inside to look like this, so we're gonna have to sand, of course, in some areas here, wherever I oversprayed, I believe. But now I'm sure that this here is really nicely protected. Of course, some of it is gonna burn because now we're gonna have to do plug welds here. I don't think we can shove the spot welder there, but we're gonna have to do plug welds there, so some of it is gonna burn, but we can't protect it 100%, but at least 99. And here as well, you see the texture here. When it dries, it becomes a little bit smoother, but still we don't want the fenders to be this way. So here you see I sprayed around there. I oversprayed a little bit here and I'm upset at myself, but later we might be able to sand it. And I sprayed this entire area here because it's not going to be seen, and all the edges because we know that that's where we had troubles before. So that's where we're going to leave it, and now we can go to the other side and do the same on the other side. Okay, so we repaired this corner as well. Made sure that this is smooth here so it doesn't show through the fender later. I also went ahead and repaired all these, the bigger ones. The smaller ones for the clicos we can just repair from outside. And I also welded down there. So now I'm gonna take this part out, we're gonna clean up, we're gonna paint, we're gonna do the same thing as on the other side. This is already dry, and we're gonna have to drill holes though for the plug welds, mostly on the fender, so we have to drill holes all over the place here, holes here. Okay, so this side is painted as well now. The fender over there is painted. Like I said, now I'm gonna have to paint this edge here. I'm gonna sand it now. I'm gonna sand whatever I oversprayed, and I'm gonna paint it with weld through primer because that's where we want to do spot welds. Same here, we're gonna have to sand this and paint it with weld through primer, and then we're gonna have to drill some holes for plug welds, and we're gonna be ready to assemble finally. So I'll show you when all this is done. All right, so here's the situation now. I sanded those edges on the fenders and sprayed them with weld through primer. This one as well. I also ground a little bit with die grinder. I ground here all the way to bare metal, and then I sprayed it with weld through primer. And here I drilled some holes for plug welds because that's where this piece goes, and a little bit over there, as well as on the fenders. You see here all over the wheel arch and in that corner. Everything else is gonna be spot welds. So now let's assemble the bonnet for one last time and check the gaps and everything. If everything is good, we're gonna start welding it. Okay, so it's the next day and I have everything assembled. The gaps look good. Now I don't have the latch here, but when I have the latch, it pushes it a little bit lower here and fastens it in the right place. On the other side, it's the same. So everything is as it was when we kept repairing it. So the clicos work fantastic. Just put everything back where it belongs. I didn't show you what my plan for here is. Here we're gonna plug weld it at the bottom. We're gonna plug weld here, and we're gonna plug weld here like this. But first I'm gonna weld here together. That's why I didn't install this, because I need to weld this parts together. Unfortunately, I can't put the spot welder here. I'm just gonna weld them together on the edge here. So that's what I'm gonna do first. Then I'm gonna install these triangular pieces. We're gonna weld, maybe we're gonna start from here. Then we're gonna go around and weld all these plug welds here. The last thing is gonna be, we're gonna need to bend this edge around the bracket that's inside, the one that we repaired here, like a door skin, and that's gonna be it. So I'm not gonna hold you here for all the welding, but I just want to show you one thing, which is now in these holes that we're gonna do the plug welding, we have paint, right? Because we painted these edges, especially here we did also the bed liner. So now we're not gonna be able to weld it unless we clear that paint from there. And to clear it, I'm using this drill bit that is literally ground flat at the front. That's a trick that Jed Mutley showed me years ago on his channel when he was still posting videos. So you see, that clears the paint. So I'm gonna go around and clear them all, and then I'm gonna start welding, and I guess I'm gonna show you the final results. Okay, it's all together. Everything is welded on the bottom. We still need to do the top, the spot welds on these two seams, but that's gonna happen after we close it. It looks great, nice and solid. Who's gonna grind it? I don't wanna grind, it's too hot for that. So that's how much this is getting bent. It doesn't go all the way up. I guess, first of all, because it needs to be stretched because of the curve, and it might pull this curve closed. I don't know, maybe that's one of the reasons. But the other one that I think it is because of it's used as a reinforcement for this curve, so it doesn't change. Like this here, for example, this is left on purpose here, so the edge of the bonnet doesn't wiggle, you know? This is like reinforcing it. So I'm guessing for the same reason they left this here and this here just as a flange. So that's how far we're gonna go. We're done with this side. Now in this end there, it was braced originally from the factory. It is braced there, so this bracket doesn't slide out of there because nothing is holding it now. It is just friction. So we're gonna make a short weld there, and that's gonna be it for that side. Okay, so I think we are done with all the welding. I bent this part as well, and it worked great. I still have to weld it there in the corner, but yeah, I think we've done a good job with the entire bonnet. It is all welded now, and it is really solid. There's a few more things that I need to do though. So this is like I said, that these corners need to be welded. And here, if you remember, these new fenders are a little bit longer than what the original is. Now this side is mangled. There was an accident on this side of the car, looks like, and this fender was changed. This wasn't the original fender that we took out. So I thought that maybe when they did the repair that they didn't bend this on the right place, but it looks like the other side is the same, and this is where we had an original fender, and this is still too short. So here obviously we're gonna have to do one of two things. We either have to make a cut here and open this, or make a cut here and push this in, but I'm debating which one is correct. I'm not really sure what to do. So I wanted to finish the bonnet completely in this video, but it looks like this is gonna be also a tricky job, so I don't want to rush it. I'm gonna leave the welding of the corners inside and these for the next video, and in this case I'm gonna finish this one here. So thanks for watching and for keeping me company while I'm working here. I really feel like I'm not alone in the garage when you're around, guys. I'm not talking to a camera, I'm really talking to people that are watching over my shoulder all the time. I have that feeling that somebody's watching over my shoulder, and I'm like, should I do this on? No, because it's on camera and they're gonna see it. So, so you keep me in track for sure. Thanks for that. So anyways, thank you also for supporting the channel financially, to those of you who do it directly, or to those of you who support me just by watching and subscribing and sharing. That's also a great support, guys, so thank you for that. If you're looking for ways to support a little bit the channel, there's ways in the description of this video. You can join my Patreon page, or you can send little donations by PayPal or e-transfer to my email address, elin.yakov@rustybeauties.com. But you don't need to do that in order to watch all my videos, because they're all free. The financial support is only if you feel like it. So with that said, guys, thanks for watching again, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.